In the last lesson, we looked at Power BI design environment. In this lesson, we want to learn about Power Query Editor. Power Query Editor allows you to transform your data to make it fit for analysis. So in this lesson, we want to learn about the environment. There are two ways to open Power Query Editor. The first method is when you are bringing in data newly into Power BI. Let me just show you. So follow along with me. Open your Power BI desktop and then click on Get Data. This icon is used when you want to bring in data into Power BI. So click on Get Data. Power BI provides a lot of data connectors. Just click on Excel Workbook. And then you navigate to where you save your training resources folder. Remember, you can download these on your student portal under course page, right? So wherever you put it, navigate to that location and then double click on training resources. Mine is on the desktop. I advise students to put their training resources on the desktop so they can easily locate it. So double click on training resources, double click on practice data set, and then click on AdventureWorks database. Click on open. So let's wait for Power BI to load this data. So Power BI shows you the navigator window where you see all your data sets. For now, click on product inventory. When you click on a particular data set under the navigator sections here, Power BI preloads the data. It shows the previews of the data. And look at these three buttons here. We have load, transform data, cancel. When you click on load, it looks as if your data is, you're sure that your data is clean and you are ready to create report on that data. So when you click on load, Power BI loads this data into design view, right? So you're sure that your data is clean and then you want to start reporting directly. When you click on transform data, Power BI loads this data into Power Query Editor, which is what we want to do. I always advise my students never load data directly because you don't trust your data. You need to ensure that your data is clean. You need to transform that data before you load it. So we are going to click on transform data so that we can go to Power Query Editor. This is one way to open the Power Query Editor environment. Click on transform data. So Power BI opens Power Query Editor with the data we selected. Okay, so this is how Power Query Editor looks. This environment is different from the design view that we have here. Okay, so you see we have two Power BI environment. One is the design view and the other is Power Query Editor. Power Query Editor, like I said, allows you to transform your data, to clean your data, to make it fit for analysis. We are going to learn how to transform data in subsequent lessons. But in this lesson, let's just understand Power Query environment. So like the design view, Power Query consists of the menu sections. And each menu here consists of different icons. Okay, we have a new source. On Power Query Editor, you can load data directly here by clicking on this new source. Okay, we have recent sources. The recent sources shows you, those recent data set you've worked on so far. We have enter data, which allows you to, enter your data and save it. But Power BI is not an environment where you enter your data like Microsoft Excel. But there are some cases, there are some situations you want to just enter maybe some data to test what you want to do. Then we have data source settings. These icons are under home menu. We have the transform menu that lists all the icons under the transform menu. We are going to learn about all these, most of these icons in the subsequent lessons. We learn about how to detect data type, how to do pivot on a pivot data, how to move data. We're going to talk about all these, if not all or most of these icons. Then we have the add column, which allows you to work with column. We have conditional column when you want to create a column with condition. We're going to look at all these icons in subsequent lessons. So the first sections here is a menu section that houses different icons. On the left side of the screen, we can see queries. When you load data into Power Query environment, because it's a query environment, Power Query sees that data as queries. So for instance, your data on Power Query environment is represented as queries. So you can see we have customer data, we have product inventory data. Okay, so this will list all the data that you have as queries on this environment. So take a look at this section. Okay, this section shows you the data that you are currently highlighting. For instance, we are currently on product inventory, so it shows you the product inventory. What you have to do is to look at this data and see what you can do to clean the data. For instance, we have column 1, column 2, column 3. In subsequent lessons, we are going to learn how to remove all these unwanted column. But when you click on your data here, you can do a lot. You can clean this data. You can look at the data type that you have. You can look at the column that you have. You can do a lot of data shapings. Okay, so let's, for instance, let me click on customer data. So you see, the view of customer data here. When you click on product inventory data, you see the content of the data here. This is the environment where you can transform this data. As you clean the data, you can see how it looks like. So this environment shows you the data you are currently working on. On the right hand side, we have properties settings. Okay, when you click on a particular queries or a particular table here, Power BI shows you the properties of that table. You click on a particular column as well, you can see the details of that column. So here you can rename this table to a different thing entirely. Then below this, we have under apply steps, we have the various logs. Now Power BI does not have Control Z. Now when you make mistake in Power Query Editor, you cannot do Control Z to undo those changes. Take for instance, let me remove this column. Let me click on column 6 and then right click and then click on remove. Now notice what happened. Whatever you do here, Power Query keeps the log of that data because I cannot do Control Z to undo an action. Okay, so this is where apply steps comes in. Whatever you do on this data, Power Query Editor keeps a log, so you can move you can move one step backward to how your data was. Say for instance, let me click on this X icon. Now we have our column 6 back. So let me do it again so you can see how it works. Let me right click on column 6. Now take a look at these apply steps. We have just one item there. So let me right click on column 6 and click on remove links. So what happened? Column 6 has been removed, but then we have a step of that here under apply step. So I can click on remove columns here and then I'll bring back my column 6 back. So this is how Power Query environment looks like. There is a section where you learn about how to transform your data on this environment, but for now just know that this is how Power Query Editor looks like. When you finish cleaning your data on this environment, under the home menu you click on this icon called close and apply. When you click on close and apply, we have 3 items. We have close and apply. Close and apply means that you want to save these changes and then close this environment. Apply only means you want to just apply the changes, but you don't want to close this environment. Close means you want to close the environment without saving your changes. So you're always advised to close and apply. When you close and apply here, when you click on close and apply, this data will be loaded into Power BI design view, meaning that you are ready to analyze your data. So let me click on close and apply. You can see it automatically loaded this data on the design view. So that is one way to enter into or to open Power Query Editor. The second way to open Power Query Editor, let's say for instance you have transformed your data on Power Query Editor, and in the process of analyzing your data or in the process of creating reports, creating charts, you realize that there is a mistake in the data and you still need to do data transformation. So you can go back to Power Query Editor when you come to transform data here. Okay, now transform data icon is under the home menu. You click on transform data and then you click on again transform data. This data will be loaded on Power Query Editor environment, so you can go ahead and then carry out more data transformation. So this is how Power Query Editor works. In subsequent lessons, you will learn about what to do on this environment. See you then.